How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about more of these so-called kids in cages. You remember last administration under President Trump, he had these border facilities that house kids, adults, whoever, right there before they were deported, sent into the interior of the country. Whatever was to be done afterwards, the decision was made after they stayed in these detention facilities. And the media came out and said, oh, you're putting kids in cages because some pictures surfaced of some kids that's like 16 years old in a little tinfoil silvery blanket in like a chain link fence, right? But inside of an actual building. It was not like they were in a dog cage or nothing like that. Now, fast forward to 2021, all of a sudden those exact same facilities and those exact same conditions are now being referred to as migrant facilities and detention centers. Ain't no more just kids in cages, concentration camp language. All right. And as a matter of fact, shout out to Peter Doocy from Fox News. He's been on Jen Psaki's neck trying to get some answers. Like, hey, you were talking about kids in cages. We're not going to do that, but you have kids in cages. Some pictures surfaced of a new kind of cage rather than an interior structure with a floor and a roof, kind of like a big warehouse type thing. They're having these shipping containers. Now, I guess they can be used as some kind of office, but it looks like a little cagey to me, a little penitentiary to me. As a matter of fact, you could probably put those on a boat, lock them up, send them to China, and have them work for an Apple iPhone workshop. That's the kind of way it looks to me. But before I go any further, let's roll the clip of that interaction. After we get done with that, I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Thank you, Jen. We spoke yesterday about immigration and this facility, HHS facility in Carrizo Springs, Texas for migrant children. And you said it is not kids in cages. We've seen some photos now of containers. Is there a better description? Is it kids in containers instead of kids in cages? What is the White House's description of this facility?
Well, let me give a broader description of what's happening here. We have a number of unaccompanied minors, children who are coming into the country without their families. What we are not doing, what the last administration did, was separate those kids, rip them from the arms of their parents at the border. We are not doing that. That is immoral, and that is not the approach of this administration. These kids, we have a couple of options. We can send them back home and do a dangerous journey back. We are not doing that either. That is also putting them at risk. We can quickly transfer them from CBP to these HHS-run facilities. That's one option. Or we can put them with families and sponsors without any vetting. There were some problems that process ran into as well. We've chosen the middle option. And these HHS facilities, this is one of them you're referring to, we had to expand and open additional facilities because there was not enough space in the existing facilities and if we were to abide by COVID protocols. That's the process and the step. This facility in Texas, which has been reopened, has been revamped.
So just one step back from that, we've been talking to people down at the border who say that right now DHS and the Border Patrol are using the same kind of facilities now that they did during the Trump administration, and that there's a facility right now, it's in Donna, Texas instead of McAllen, Texas, but it's tents and chain link fence around it. And so
a CBP facility before they're transferred to the HHS facility, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, and the issue would be that just in the last couple days they had hundreds of kids that they were holding for over 72 hours, which is the legal limit to keep somebody in a temporary facility. So I'm just curious why.
Well, let's be clear though, because I know you want to be clear with the public about the differences. The CBP facilities, which you're right, the objective is to move kids, unaccompanied minors, as quickly as possible, under 72 hours, to these HHS-sponsored facilities, which is the one where we've been referring to in Texas. They are two different things. There were some delays last week because of weather and because some of these facilities to safely move these kids to did not have power and were not in a place where they had the capacity to take in these kids and do it safely. That is not our objective. That is not our goal. So some unfortunately did stay 4 days, 5 days, or longer. But the objective is to move them as quickly as possible to the HHS-sponsored facilities.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, Jen Psaki, you were really struggling. You were struggling pretty hard to explain what was going on there. Because the truth is, you really can't explain it, right? I think we all know that you really can't explain what was going on there. What I saw in those pictures is not much different than what Trump was doing. And as a matter of fact, it's not much different than what Biden administration was doing. It's the exact same thing. Because let's not forget, the pictures that surfaced of the so-called cages under Trump came from the Obama administration, right? So they built it. They not only operated the so-called cages, they not only filled the so-called cages, they built many of the so-called cages. And a lot of those cages Trump had closed. Biden's administration has reopened some of those closed, quote unquote, border facilities, migrant facilities, and they've built new ones. So how are you going to explain that? How are you going to say, all right, under Trump, it's cages, it's concentration camps, it's all this, that, and the third. But under you, they're migrant facilities, they're detention centers, and all this and that. It's the exact same thing. What's how you really going to get around this? All right. Rather than the so-called cages for optics, I guess you thought that containers would be better. How is it better? It's not really. And like I said, you open up some of the other facilities that have the same thing that were in the pictures that the media falsely tried to attribute to Donald Trump. That really came under Barack Obama, right? And, the funny part about the media, they tell the truth when they want to tell the truth, okay? It's a rare occasion, but they will occasionally get honest. Here's something from the Washington Post. This is an article that was published, I think, a couple of days ago. And it's really funny. Let's put it on the screen right here. Matter of fact, let me just move this over a little bit. This is honesty. This is what Candace Owens was saying about the actual places where the kids go when they are released from the so-called migrant facilities. All right. She was being honest, and then the media said, "Are you lying? You're not telling the truth." Well, here it is. Washington Post, and the article will be in the description box below. At 66-acre site, groups of beige trailers encircle a giant white dining tent, a soccer field, and a basketball court. There is a bright blue hospital tent with white bunk beds inside. A legal services trailer has a Spanish word, bienvenidos, or welcome, on a banner on its roof. There are trailers for classrooms, a barbershop, and a hair salon. The facility has its own ambulances and fire trucks, as well as its own water supply. So making it seem very, very nice. No problems, no kids in cages there. Let's move me out the way a little bit. The operation is based on the Federal Emergency Management System, Weber said. The trailers are labeled with names such as Alpha, Charlie, and Echo. Staff members wear matching black and white T-shirts displaying their roles: disaster case manager, incident report, emergency management. The most colorful trailer is at the entryway, where flowers, butterflies, and handmade posters still hang on its walls from Carrizo's first opening in 2019. All right, so look, these are not cages, guys. These are not cages. It's okay because, it's all right because we're in charge now. If that were Trump, it doesn't matter how many flowers or matching T-shirts, basketball courts, and hula hooping and double dutching, it wouldn't make a difference. It would still be the cages. All right. This outrage of the so-called kids in cages is all political. It's all fake. The kids in cages narrative is starting to weaken because the mainstream media does not want to attack their own. They don't want to attack Joe Biden and Jen Psaki and the administration. Really, the administration, because Joe Biden ain't doing nothing. Joe Biden is an empty suit. It's like the Men in Black. Remember that roach from the Men in Black? That's pretty much Joe Biden. Okay. He's not even really there anymore. But that's a different story. They don't want to attack Democrats because they're doing the exact same thing that Trump did. As a matter of fact, Trump had closed some of the Obama sites because he was able to reduce the proliferation of these illegal aliens. With less coming across the border, there was less need for these so-called cages. But you want to reduce, but you want to increase the volume of people coming across the border. you're going to have more of these facilities. That's just what it is, because if they're coming across the border, they're tired, they're thirsty, and they want to go to the interior. Where are they going to go up until the point where they get to the interior? They want to go to a facility to get processed or whatever. And then as I close, I want to say this. How many of these people are being tested? Okay. In a little list I saw there, in this pretty list, I did not see where they're getting tested for the virus. I'm seeing something for disaster case manager, and it might be a nurse there, or ambulance or whatever. Are they doing any kind of virus tests? But they're talking about you as a regular normie in America might need a vaccine passport to travel. They were trying to cut off travel to and from Florida, or at least to Florida, because Florida does not have all these virus regulations. But what about coming from Guadalajara, Mexico? I mean, what kind of regulation is there? Do they have a shutdown? Do they have a lockdown? How about coming from other parts of the world? Like, people from all over the world come to the southern border. It's not just the so-called Mexicans or the, Central Americans. They come from all over the world. Africa, Asia, Europe. There was even a Canadian at the southern border trying to get in illegally. A Canadian. So people from all over the world, when they come into the country illegally, and it's easy to do so, unfortunately, to a certain extent right now at the southern border. How about we close that off, start giving them incentives to come, and then maybe you wouldn't need all these so-called cages. If there's really a humanitarian crisis at the border, stop giving them incentive to come. Then it wouldn't be a crisis. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Are these shipping containers good? Are they humane? Are they fine? Are they better than the so-called cages? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. I'd love to hear why these are better and so different than what Trump was doing and what Obama and Joe Biden were doing. Let's not forget that fact. People want to kind of gloss over that, like the whole cages thing was just Obama. No, it was Joe Biden too, because he was the vice president for 8 years. Okay, where was he at on TV talking about, we need to close the facilities? The facilities weren't even the problem until Trump got in office. It's how I know that the whole outrage behind it is purely political. Like I said, if I were the king and I could rule by fiat, they would go right back across the border from where they came. It wouldn't be here's a nice warm place to sleep, and here's a blankie, and none of that going on. Go back. But am I wrong here? Is the Joe Biden version of the cage, the new thing, the container, is a container better than the so-called cage? And is the container better than the cage that Biden and Obama built themselves under their administration? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.